Alright, welcome back to a brand new video of the Targeted Individual Program, Targeted Individual Experience. So the New York Predator Department have been very active in remote neural monitoring, in-home surveillance, that every time I get up, they're using their sirens. I go into the kitchen, I'm washing dishes. They are just being ridiculous today. Why? Because of the lies, the manipulation, and they think that they're going to get away with trying to railroad me and other TIs because of the crimes they've committed against us. Their agenda, their lies, their manipulation. And again, I'm going to prove to you guys, because again, I always say, I don't just say these things, I can prove it. Okay? And because they have engaged in cognitive warfare, not only on TIs, and neurocognitive warfare on TIs, but not only on TIs, but even those, there are people out there in the public who don't realize what has been done to them and how they are being used to create an agenda by those in power, by the elites, by those who are corporations, particularly tech companies, who are trying to create a society, particularly in America, in which the vast majority of people will be oppressed, they will be out of work. And in order to stop people from rioting and anger and overthrowing the elites, as we saw, as I say, if you go through history, particularly look at the French Revolution, look what's happening now in France, right? In order to prevent that from happening here, is to manipulate our emotions, is to give us distraction. So they create the boogeymen and the boogie women, and they turn the public against them using manipulation, using coercive persuasion programming, all these other psychological tactics and methods, as well as covert operations and so forth, right? While pulling the rug from under those of us within the society who they manipulate into attacking people like me as a TI and others, okay, target individual. Now, they had, as I was uploading my other video, they had hacked into my phone and brought up my, on my page, my description. I give a description of what it is that they do. Let me show you guys here. Hold on a sec, before I begin this. Because again, I want you to see what it is that they do. All right, so here's a description of my page. Now, in order for this to come up on my page, particularly on my phone, I would have to do this. Okay, so I want you to see this is my page, and what they've done is hack into my phone, and to do this. So now, when in order for me, and of course they know I'm going to do a video on this and such, but the reason why is because as long as I keep speaking the truth about being a targeted individual, they're going to be targeting me more. So when you see this here, right, and again, I've studied this just from how they target me, what it is that they've done in the past and they continue to do, is that when I keep speaking out against what it is that they're doing, I'm going to be targeted more. Meaning that they are trying to send me subliminal message, well, we're going to add more years onto your life of being targeted. When I know that they're going to target me regardless. You understand? The purpose of them trying to make me believe that by being quiet, I would no longer be targeted is because it's a belief system. It is a belief system. They're never going to stop targeting us as TIs, despite what they say. They just want to get away with it. And by you not talking about it, this is why they will try to sabotage every effort for you to go get therapy for the psychological harm that they've caused you, right? Because they don't want a record of you talking about this stuff. Okay. So in order for me to show you my entire description, right, of me being a TI, I would have to hit this right where it says more. Okay, there you go. Right, into the description. Right now, I uploaded my videos. I didn't hit that button. I logged out of, not logged out of, but I closed the YouTube app. And then when I went back into the YouTube app, you know, they, this is the part that comes up. I didn't hit that. I didn't hit where it says more. I didn't touch that, anything like that. Okay, this is what they do. Right, so it says I am a target individual. I was illegally microchipped by the U.S. security agencies and the New York Predator Department. I was drugged in order to soften my mind so that I could be more prone to subliminal messages using psychological manipulation, coercive persuasion programming. Now, that's true. In order for them to manipulate us as TIs in the way they have, drugs play an important part. Again, when you look, particularly look within the black community, when you look at how many women are diagnosed with, particularly black women, with some form of mental illness, whether it be depression, what have you, to put them in drugs. These drugs soften our minds up to easy subliminal messaging, easier cursive persuasion programming. This is one aspect of taking these drugs. This is what they don't tell you. I keep saying, there's a weaponization of everything within the society by those in power, right? By the deep state, by the oligarchs, the elite, the big pharma, and so forth. Okay, because they will sell you the same drug that the people who are hooked on drugs, right? But because those drugs are not regulated by the state, right? Then you if you were an illegal drug dealer, unlike the legal drug dealers, which is big pharma, right? Those same exact drugs that you can get on the street, right? You can get a prescription for those very same drugs from your doctor. Okay, understand that's part of the manipulation within the society, right? The exploitation of people using the system, the so-called legal system, which you have corporations who are the biggest drug pushers, because they will come up with new drugs and then come up with the symptoms after to market these drugs. Okay, and then they'll create a whole incentive and incentivize therapists and psychiatrists to prescribe these drugs. Okay, now these psychiatrists are not even part of the study or the research of these drugs, but yet they prescribe these drugs to people who are talking about things that are happening to them. So therefore, they have to give them these drugs. It is a racketeering scheme, right? The government is run by gangsters and by the mob and mafias, I should say, not by the mob, but by mafias. Okay. So also being attacked with DEW, directed energy weapon, like silent sounds, spread spectrum technology, and vibrational acoustic weapons. Now, again, there have been research that shows that your phone can be turned into a weapon, right? Not only because of use of the radio receiver and transceiver that's in your phone, but also using vibrational acoustics. And I talked about this. All of a sudden your bones start rattling. You get this heavy, strong vibration when your phone may be next to you but not on you, but you're sitting down, you're feeling this vibration that's going on, that you reach to see if to answer a call, right? But then you realize that, hey, my phone is not on me, and that my phone might be on the table or on the desk somewhere, but you're getting these strong vibration and you're reaching, to see to get your phone, and your phone is not on you, right? So again, I was put into a put into a program much like COINTELPRO and Zelda Zoom in order to have me surveilled and gang stalk, then label paranoid to discredit me from coming forward to expose these crimes. We all should be aware of cognitive and neurocognitive warfare. Now, I wrote this a long time ago. Okay, so look at the words I'm using: neurocognitive and cognitive neurocognitive warfare. All right, what is it? What it is, how it's being orchestrated, and how to protect our minds and lives from it. If you'd like to donate, I give my Cash App again, and they've been sending me subliminal messages about if I get donations from Cash App, they're going to steal the money from my Cash App and such and such. This is what they do, right, in order to silence me, right? And as Dr. Ray Hagan said, these people have, particularly also with religion, when they have told a lie, right? And these are people who are in position of authority and power, right? They have to maintain that lie no matter the cost. They have to maintain the lie no matter how many lives they ruin. This is what they do. And they get people around you to engage in the lie and participate in the lie and falsification and make up all these other things that we see. And women are the Achilles heel of men, who they use against us. Right? Because women worship material things more than men. Men may have the money to buy the material things, but women worship material things. Women will walk away from their marriage based on a man who they perceive have money and who only want them for, short-term sexual relationship, and they will destroy their entire marriage, their family, for those men. And they will never even admit to those men that they were wrong. Right? But now they will play victim. Right? And now want to hate all men. Okay? But never reflect on the shit that they do. Okay? All right, so let's get back to the other thing, or the other article or description I'm talking about. All right, so I also posted a video on a young black man, a football star, who was accused of causing an accident that killed a veteran. Right? But you had a witness who said that it was a woman that caused the accident, and the police basically coerced the witness into saying that it was this young football player, and this guy ended up losing his football career, and they claim that he committed suicide. This is what these crooked cops do. These crooked predator cops. And because they want to get away with the crimes that they've committed, they, I would speculate that they killed this young black man, and so that they can get away with the crimes that they've committed, and that they would not have to pay any sort of price for the crimes that they committed. This is the police and the prosecutors. Okay. So I asked AI. I said, how predator police officer is supposed to be used. Use page snitches to lie so they can violate people's rights. Okay, and of course, nothing comes up here, right? So let's see if I do this. Again, nothing comes up. All right, except for these things. All right, because I want you guys to understand how they will mask certain things, right? So you could ask AI a lot of things, and it will give you a breakdown of everything, what have you. But when it comes to certain things, particularly when it comes to certain government questions that has to do with government corruption, police corruption, and stuff like that, the AI will rarely give you any sort of articles or even its own interpretation, particularly when you do it in this method. So what I would suggest you do, is go to the AI mode, right? And then it will give you a better it will do a more broader search, right? And so this is what it comes up with. Okay, using paid informants, and again, these are, when I talk about these perps out there, they're being paid in some way. And so when you look at the budget of, particularly I live in New York City, and particularly New York City Police Department, who they have found are hiding a slush fund in which they receive hundreds of millions of dollars from private donors, usually corporations, in which there's no oversight. When you read about them using technology like the Stingray, using X-ray devices to drive around and X-ray people, right? And again, there's no oversight, right? So you can be driving in a car, and this brings up the case of that young man in Chicago, which I believe they use an X-ray device to X-ray him in the vehicle, because the way how they rolled up on this young man with their guns drawn over what they say is a seatbelt violation. Now, if it is a seatbelt violation, why are so many cars speeding down on this dude, this young man, with their guns drawn? Unless they knew he had a weapon in the car. But how did they know that? They didn't see him with their own eyes. They used X-ray scanning devices, which put him in danger, which put whoever passenger in the vehicle in danger, right? Because X-ray can cause serious harm. Talk about cancer, other form of tissue damage, neurological damage, right? But this is what they do, and they lie and they hide to get away with it. Okay? So, using paid informants, especially those with personal incentive, like reduced sentences or financial gain, can create a serious risk of fabricating testimony and evidence leading to wrongful conviction and violation of constitutional rights. While law enforcement often use informants for legitimate investigative purpose, and really they don't. Right? They don't, because if you go to the Guardian and you look at how the FBI have paid informants on this list, who these people make millions of dollars lying, and even when it's been found out that these informants lie, the FBI and the Predator Police Department continuously use those very same informants unless the defense bring up these informants' track records to show that they lie, right? But that doesn't happen because why? Because the prosecutors have shown to not present evidence, particularly in discovery. They literally hide evidence that can prove the defense client innocence, right? Prosecutors don't hand over those evidence. Okay? So while law enforcement often use informants for legitimate investigative purposes, a lot of times they don't, most of the times they don't, the practice is largely unregulated and has been shown to result in misconduct. How informants are used to violate rights. Incentivize lying and fabrication. Strong motive to lie. Informants who are themselves facing charges or seeking reward have a powerful incentive to provide false or exaggerated testimony to please the police or prosecutors. Financial compensation can also be a strong motivator for provided information, regardless of its accuracy. Jailhouse snitches. The use of jailhouse informant inmate who claim the other inmate confessed to them is a notorious source of unreliable testimony. Right? These individuals are often given leniency or other benefits in exchange for their testimony. The Innocent Project have found that false testimony from informants is a leading cause of wrongful conviction. Fabricating testimony. In some cases, police or prosecutors have been found to feed informants detail of a crime. The informant then presents this information as a confession from the defendant, which makes the false testimony seem more credible to a jury. Ignoring due process and constitutional rights. Undisclosed deals. A defendant's due process rights can be violated when prosecutors fail to disclose incentives given to informants, such as plea deals, leniency, or special treatment. The Supreme Court requires that prosecutors disclose evidence that could be used to impeach a witness, which include any promise of leniency. Okay, interrogating charged defendants. The Sixth Amendment gives defendants the right to counsel after they have been charged with a crime. Law enforcement can violate this right by placing an informant in a cell with a charged defendant to secretly elicit incriminating statements without their lawyer present. So I want you to understand, when I talk about the criminals within the so-called injustice, what I call it the injustice system, right? And the unlawful system, right? Because the prosecutors are criminals, the police are criminals, right? And when you look at the people who have been exonerated from crime, particularly black men make up more than half of all exonerees in this country. All right, think about that. Okay. Unregulated police conduct. The use of informant is largely unregulated by the courts, giving law enforcement significant leeway. Some Supreme Court ruling from the 1960s affirm that the use of informant does not automatically violate the Fourth or Fifth Amendment. However, this broad discretion can enable misconduct. Police corruption and enabling crime. Ignoring informants' crimes. In a corrupt relationship, officers may overlook crimes committed by an informant to maintain the working relationship. Informant, especially in drug cases, may be allowed to continue engaging in criminal activity while police look the other way. Okay? Officers' misconduct. The close relationship between an officer and an informant can also lead to corruption and misconduct on the officer's part. In one recent case, an officer was fired for having a sexual relationship with an informant and revealing confidential information, leading to the dismissal of hundreds of cases. And this is rampant. This is rampant. So again, I have to do these videos because I want people to be informed. I want people to be aware of the criminal conduct, not only of those within law enforcement, but also how they can get civilian to and give them money, promise them this and that, entrap them. Like, for example, I'm a TI, so what they'll do is that if I'm dating somebody, they will entrap that person and then use that person to try to manipulate me into being silenced, right? Or to try to accuse me of something. This is the level of corruption, the level of evil that these people engage in. And they call themselves Christians and good people. Understand that, okay? Just as how you had these people up in the churches, while the dungeons in the bottom of the churches had our ancestors enslaved, in chains, beaten, raped, murdered, sodomized, right? On a Sunday, right? These so-called Christians, right, will go out to watch a black man, a black woman, a black boy, a black child hang, right? And then cut up the body so they can take pieces home as a souvenir. That was not that long ago. Okay? Always remember that. If and when they have the opportunity to engage in those behavior again, they will do it. They will do it. They're more patient than we're more patient than them. And the fact that we believe in Jesus and Jesus is going to come save us and this and that. No, their patience will eventually run out, and they will elect, like how they elect this president. And you start to see how they're now becoming emboldened in their racist activities again. Okay? So you hear the sirens? Yeah. When I do these videos, they hate it. They use the siren because guess what? It's the truth. And one thing I know, like I said, the truth is our greatest ally, right? And the truth is their greatest enemy. All right, not even going through reforms because that shit don't work. Unless you're going to change the system from the top, it doesn't work. All right, because we see what happens when we hire reformers. All right, they themselves get kicked out. They themselves have the resources pulled from underneath them, particularly when it comes to rooting out corrupt police officers. Right? The system wants corrupt police officers because the system is corrupt in itself. All right, talk to you guys in the next video.